What's up, Instagram? It's Nikki Sunshine here, and today I'm here to talk about harboring fantasies. So, I do love those juicy sexual fantasies. However, that is not what today's talk is about. I am talking about holding on to a fantasy about what your life should look like, and then comparing yourself against that fantasy, and what happens when we do that, and how we can find a better way. So, I have to give props to my teacher, Jason Gaddis, for this one. He really helped me really illuminate the fantasy within my own life, which is why I'm not qualified to teach you guys about this. So many of us have fantasies about how our life should look, how our career should look, how our relationships should look, how our family or our home life should look, and we have these fantasies. So I call it a fantasy because it's based off of non-reality. Oftentimes it's based off of media or fake ass interpretations of people on social media, right? Like if you don't know by now, most people on social media aren't telling you the whole truth. So we compare ourselves to these, look at this couple, they're so happy, or look at that woman, she's excelling in her career according to Instagram, or I'm going to watch a movie or a commercial and feel, again, like I'm not enough because look at all these glorified images of how everyone's living so perfectly, right? So first I want to say, it's not your fucking fault for feeling insecure, insufficient, and buying into these fantasies. They're literally sold to us in the media, in the world. We live in a very consumerist economy. I can talk. Don't ask me to use big words, guys. So, we have this fantasy, right? And what happens is we hold this fantasy as what, so I like to talk in examples. So let's say I have a fantasy about my relationship, right? And let's say I have this fantasy that my partner is going to be this warm, soft, attentive, emotionally supportive and available, like, therapist slash sexy. I also want him to be like a sexy caveman and take me at his will. And he's also going to know how to cook. And he's going to love to sit with me and brush my hair while I tell him about my girlfriends. Are you guys getting the fantasy vibe? So we can start to build a fantasy about someone. So if let's say I'm dating Warren. This is a perfect example. Let's use my babe, Warren. Let's say okay, so who's been in this situation? You start dating someone. Ladies, I'm fucking talking to you right now, all right? You start dating someone and you see their potential, right? You're like, I see where you are, but I also see where you could be. So I'm going to start dating you and I'm going to help you get there. Come on, aren't you excited? Yo, drop a comment if you've been in this situation, because I know some of you have, because this is such a classic thing. I've been in this like a million times. It's like, cool, I'm going to fix you so that you'll be better, and so that's why I got in this relationship. Which, first of all, like, just take a step back, right? You're not that cool either. I'm not that cool either. That's a very, that comes from a place of, really, this is where that comes from. If I get in a relationship with you with the idea that I'm going to fix you so that you'll be better and then we'll have a great relationship, that comes from my own inability to love and accept parts of myself. I'm just projecting. If whatever you're doing is like not okay, too much, not enough, that's what I think. That's really because I don't honor that part of myself, so I'm judging it in you. So let's say that you're someone who let's say like I'm dating someone who'll just like dance and sing like and just like get crazy all of a sudden, like out of the blue, like just start dancing around the kitchen singing, right? Let's say I start to get really fucking bitter about that. I'm like, God, can we just have a quiet evening once? Right? And so I just start getting bitter and making comments. It's highly likely that there's this part of me inside that also likes to let loose and fucking dance and sing a song with no words and do that thing. But I've disowned that part of myself. I don't acknowledge that part of myself as a part of me. It's like, no, I don't do that. No, I'm serious. I'm not a goofball, you know? So I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but I hope it's useful. Okay, so back to fantasies. So many of us have fantasies about how our life should look. Okay, so we're holding this fantasy, right? And so every day so I'm in partnership, I have a fantasy about who you should be. And it's a fantasy because it's not based in reality. It's likely derived from media or comparisons to other people or fake people. It's not based in reality, okay? There was not a discussion. I didn't say, hey, this is what I expect. Where are you at? No, this is just a fantasy I've created in my head, but I want you to live up to it, right? So what'll happen is over the days, you'll continue to be yourself, my partner, that is. That's right, we're using Warren. So Warren's going to continue to be himself, and every day I'm going to compare him to the fantasy in my head of who he should be. So every day he's showing up being 100% badass fucking Warren. He is slaying being Warren. But I'm sitting here comparing him to a fantasy of Gabriel or whoever the fuck. Give your fantasy a name if it makes it easier for you. Let's call mine Gabriel. So I'm sitting here like, well, I'm still not Gabriel. Yeah, that was nice. Still not Gabriel. Wow, you did something nice or sweet for me, or you did something I asked you to do, but it's not Gabriel, so I can't appreciate it. Is this making sense? If I'm just confusing the fuck out of you guys, let me know. But this is what happens. We compare what is to the fantasy in our head silently, day in and day out, right? And so over time, this can build resentment. This can build frustration. It's like, damn, you're still not fucking Gabriel. Ah! I've been expecting you to be Gabriel for 5 years, but I've never told you that. And so now one day I'm going to explode on you because you're never enough. And this is how like big explosive fights happen. It's like, I have been expecting you to be a certain way for so long, and I haven't shared it. And now I'm just going to explode. So if we have fantasies, that's totally cool. Like, have your fucking fantasy, dude. I have fantasies all the time. I picture myself on a mountain. For some reason, the fantasy is always me being pregnant. I'm like so deeply excited to be a mom and so not fucking wanting to do that right now. But I like know it's part of my journey and I can't wait. So maybe that's why it's a fantasy. But I'll be like on this mountain with like a big belly. And I've got like a dress like blowing in the wind, and there's like these like horsetail plants around me blowing, and my lover unfazed. I think that's just my open mind because I'm like, who knows what'll happen? Like, I could die, me and Warren could break up, Warren could die. So there's no face, it's not Warren, but there's just a man who comes up behind me and like cradles me and like rubs my belly, and then I just like take this breath and like lean my head into his shoulder. So that's one of my fantasies. I have it like often. And so like I'm not here to tell you don't have fantasies, but if you have a fantasy and you're comparing your life to the fantasy and ending up feeling depressed, anxious, disappointed, stuck because of it, yes, I am telling you to look at this. Like, let's wake up here, okay? So if you're like, damn, that's me, all you gotta do is, first step, as always, is just get aware that something's going on. Holy shit, I have been comparing my marriage to a fucking fantasy. Damn, I just realized that. Wow, that's really interesting. Then go share that with your partner. Like, yo, can I tell you something? This is crazy. Are you available? Tight. I just realized for the last 10 years, I've had this fantasy of what our relationship should look like in my head. And I've been like unknowingly comparing it. And it's been making me feel bad about us. And now that I recognize this, I see that we're actually not that bad. You're not so bad. So once you recognize that you're holding onto a fantasy and using it to compare yourself or your life, you can kind of just like take a deep breath right there, you know? Holy shit, I finally figured that out. And from there, do what feels best for you. Okay, cool. It's still going. I got like a low battery notice. Do what feels best for you. Share it with your open up the conversation. So identify the fantasy and then open up the conversation, whether that be with your partner or with yourself. Because again, this could have been a fantasy about your career, where you should be in your life, how much money you should have, yada, yada. As always, you guys, Instagram's about to cut me the fuck off. So I love you so much. I hope this conversation on fantasies has been helpful. And as always, drop your comments below.